Section 6, Object-Oriented Programming Practices and Publishing Your Game. So in Object-Oriented Practices and Publishing Your Game, in this current section, we are going to go through basically an overview of what object-oriented programming really is. So just before I get into this, object-oriented programming can be a pretty complex topic. And what I really hope to accomplish with this section is to provide you all with really general overview of what object-oriented programming really is, and to show you guys what it is by using a pretty simple example with our previous game that we created, which was the drone shooter or first-person shooter game. So our first video is going to be an explanation of what object-oriented programming is and why is it important. Our second video will be an explanation on inheritance. And then in our third video, it will be utilizing inheritance between our patrolling and stationary enemies. So this is actually something that I wanted to go over when I created a patrolling and stationary enemy health script. So this is what it's related to. Then following that video, there will be an explanation on interfaces. And then in our video following that, there will be a video on utilizing an interface between enemies and destructible game objects. Then finally, we will build our game out and explore a couple of websites that we can share it on. So video 1, what is object-oriented programming and why is it important? So in this video, we will cover basically just a quick talk on OOP practices, explain why OOP is important to know, and then why OOP is useful. So OOP is a programming language model organized around objects rather than actions, as well as data rather than logic. When structuring code with OOP, it is a good idea to plan out how these objects can relate to each other and what kind of data should each object contain. It is important for the programmer to think of what data they want to manipulate and how each object can relate to each other. This idea of planning out object-oriented code is commonly referred to as data modeling. A few reasons as to why it is important to learn OOP. First off, the concept of creating subclasses of an object can allow for the code to be a lot more orderly. This concept of having subclasses is also called inheritance. Using inheritance can allow for a more thorough data analysis and accurate coding. Inheritance can also increase the overall understanding of the classes and code in your project by showing how subclasses can relate to the parent class. So basically, in short, OOP is pretty much just a more organized way of structuring code out, and the idea of that everything that you are using with your scripts is based on an object. So in a way, we have fruit, we have apples inheriting from fruit as a sort of example here. Inheritance, which we are going to go over, which is a big OOP practice. So we would have something like apples and oranges inheriting from fruit, but apples and oranges are different in their own way. So that's just kind of an explanation of inheritance.